Ableton has added a ton of brand new features with the recent release of Live 12.1, and it makes the upgrade to 12 way more worth it and potentially worth a reconsideration if you wrote it off entirely. Now, I've already broken down all of the major features in Live 12.1, so if you guys want to see that video, I'll link it in the description below. But today, we're looking at all of the little hidden things that Ableton slipped in there at the last second, and they went buck wild. So first, we have a new MIDI tool called Chop, and this allows us to chop up our MIDI, as you would expect, right? Go figure. So we have parts and gaps. As you can see, this is going to change the gaps in between the notes as we go through this, and it's changing this top layer. And this parts right here is how many different notes are being created. Let's try chopping up this note. Let's keep the parts low, because that's kind of a lot here. So maybe we'll keep it like 3 or 4 parts. That's actually pretty cool. It's adding a little groove in there as well. And these transformation tools work really well on drums. As you can hear, it's giving it a nice rhythm and groove by default. Next, we have scale awareness for audio clips. Go figure. So if we click on an audio clip right here, you'll now see that there is a scale option. You can turn that on. And this is not going to change how this sounds, right? So it's not going to affect the pitch and transposition of your actual sample. What it will do is it will tune any of the plugins that have that scale awareness. For instance, the auto shift. There you go. And once you link it here, you have it linked to the sample. And that'll handle the effects so that it's in the right scale. So that makes auto shift, that's on Ableton, by the way. That makes it their first scale-aware audio effect. Next, grooves are instantly applied to MIDI clips. So if you're using the default Ableton setting, you're gonna have a groove that's called default. I don't have it. I'm not using the default set, so you probably have one in here that's default or something like that. Now, if you wanna change that, or if you wanna set one to be your default, you're going to put it in the groove pool here, and then you're just going to click this button. So let's actually delete this clip. If I go ahead and make a new MIDI clip in Drum Rack, you're going to see now that Hip Hop 3 is automatically applied here. And something cool is that it adds a percentage to the global. So by default, it's going to be off. So like if you're loading up a MIDI clip, you're like, I don't want a groove in it. Don't worry. One thing I'm also seeing, I don't know if this is brand new, but it says right here, you can either swap, you can hot swap the grooves, which is pretty cool, or you can actually commit the groove to this MIDI clip and it'll write it out. Next, we have an undo history browser. Yeah, it's right here towards the top. It's the undo history, or you can actually toggle it by clicking that. It's going to open up this side menu. You can drag it to be as large as you'd like. And this lets you go through all the different changes you made. So if you want to hop to a certain point, in fact, let me pick something quick because it's going to take a while to load. Boom. It's actually going to load you all the way back to that point. So if you press Command Z on your keyboard, you can see it's going to go through each of these individually, and then Command Shift in Z, it's going to go the opposite way. And you can see that right there. So it's just as you would expect. The next thing is pretty cool. We have a full height browser. And this is more relevant when you have a bunch of things open. So as you can see, we have our device view selector open right now. So you can see it cuts off this view when that is open. Well, if we want this to never be cut off, we're going to go into full height browser and it's going to kick it out of the way. And now this is going to be full sized, baby. In fact, let's actually go ahead and turn that groove pool off as well. You can see it goes right to the bottom. So you pretty much have full control over your GUI. And one other thing that's pretty cool as well, you can obviously drag and size this, but look at this menu on the left here. Damn, down to symbols. Once you get used to that, you might not even need to have it open. Let's take a look at some of the feature improvements because there is some bangers in here. There's a lot of things in here, so I'll break down some of the more notable ones. A lot of filtering and tagging improvements, so if that's something you're interested in, definitely look more into that. Sidebar improvements, core library updates. Here we go. There's some CC control effect updates as well. The echo effect now has a repitch parameter. Meld has new phase reset and phase spread parameters. This one is absolutely fire. Sidechain and envelope follower. You don't need a plugin to do sidechaining anymore. Check this out. Let me know if you guys want to see me do a full breakdown of how to do this sidechaining as well as any of these other features. But this envelope follower is crazy. So now you can see we have this sidechain mode right here. And I went ahead and picked the kick. And this is on my 808. Let's hear this with the kick. And the cool thing about this is it's going to use the actual envelope of the kick So it's not going to be ducking any longer than it needs to. Once you have it dialed in with your kick, you can just switch in any 808 and you just got to get the gain right on the 808. So check this out. By the way, if you're wondering about this Crunchy 808 pack, this is a new addition to our production suite, which has 4 drum kits, 10 insane bonuses like sample collections and master classes on mixing, mastering, and getting your 808s to punch into a soft clipper. This literally has everything you need to make industry level beats. If you guys want to check this out, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. The tuner now supports tuning systems. I'm not sure why it didn't do that already. Also, this is really dope. We have release velocity, which I think could be really cool for 808s and basses and things like that. So if we click down here, we now have this release velocity as well as a regular velocity. And what we can do is just to test this out to hear what this sounds like. Let's delete everything. We'll make 2 full notes here. They're both going to be maxed out on the actual velocity, but on the release velocity, the first one will be maxed out, the second one will be all the way down. Let's hear the difference here. That'll be a fun one to play around with more later. When you're editing clips, there's now an LED color which lets you know which clip you're editing. You can now do custom chords in the Stacks MIDI tool. They've added some updates to the Recombine tool, general updates to the tools. I'm glad that they're refining these and making these even better. Guys, there's just tons of stuff here, but another really cool one is you can do pitch bends inside of the drum racks now. So if we have a drum rack right here on a MIDI clip and we go into our clip and we go into MPE, we now have a lane for pitch bending. And it's the same like you've seen you would do on the 808s, right? You just make different points here and you can play with the pitch bend like that. So now you just have this access in the drum racks as well. There's a couple free M4L packs that you gotta get. The first one is called MIDI Tools. Here's the page and you can go ahead and download it. And it gives us a polyrhythm and a phase pattern generator. It gives us a couple transforms as well, retrigger and slice shuffler. And once you install the pack, if you just click on one of the generators here, like if you just double click it, we can go to one of the transforms. It's going to load in all of the new ones. So now we have the retrigger and the slice shuffler. If we go into here, we have our phase pattern, polyrhythm, and stages. And you can see that we have a pitch and a pattern as well. The polyrhythm gets absolutely nuts here. And phase pattern, you can see they have the 3 as well. So a lot of detail. These are absolutely nuts. Definitely grab them. And the next one you have to get is sequencers. This one's actually by Ableton. Go figure. So when you download that, you will get a step ARP, an SQ sequencer, a rhythmic steps, and a no rules. Open up sequencers here. Here's our rhythmic steps. Let's go ahead and load that in. You have chance, alt pad, we have velocity, we have slide, and we have roll. So you can set this to each of them, obviously. And we have our timings in here as well. This one is getting absolutely nuts here. Okay, let's check out this last one too, the step ARP. And there we go, 3 different ARPs that kind of work in different ways, but all super functional. And as you can see, super detailed. Comment below which of these features is your favorite, and if you want to see all of the major updates in 12.1, you're going to want to check out this video next.